They called him a traitor, tossed him out like he was nothing. Like trash, no trial, no second chance, just a cold, silent goodbye, and the slamming of steel doors behind him. One moment, he was the youngest officer with a spotless record. The next, headline splashed with his face and the word betrayal in bold red. His teammates didn't even look him in the eye. Their silence cut deeper than any blade. He vanished after that. No trace, no voice, no hint of where he went. Some said he died in the slums. Others whispered he joined the underworld. But they were all wrong because now he's back. Not as the lost soldier they threw away, but as something else. Something sharper, smarter, stronger, and here's the twist, they don't even know it's him yet. But they will. Oh, they will, because this time, he's the one giving orders. At just 17, he was already wearing the uniform of the National Defense Academy, youngest in his class, top of every test, fast, focused, fearless. But while others leaned on family connections and last names soaked in power, he had nothing, just raw skill and a fire that never burned out, and that made him a target. Behind his back, they mocked his poor background, called him a street rat in a uniform, smirked when he spoke up in meetings. He ignored it all until the day it turned deadly. A mission went south, civilians caught in crossfire. Cameras offline, evidence wiped. They needed someone to blame. He was too clean, too quiet, too easy. The court-martial lasted 7 minutes. No defense, no truth. Just handcuffs, headlines, and silence. He didn't fight it. He just looked each of them in the eye and walked out without a word. They thought that was the end of him. They were wrong. The city didn't care who you were. Once you were labeled a traitor, you were just another ghost in the alley. Rain poured, his boots soaked, stomach empty, pride shattered. He slept under bridges, ate scraps, and stayed invisible. But one night, after breaking up a mugging with nothing but a busted pipe and bare hands, an old man in a faded army coat stepped out of the shadows. "I've seen that look before," the man said. "You're not done yet." The old soldier brought him underground, deep beneath the junkyard. Not a gym, not a dojo, a war chamber lined with relics and scars. "This isn't military training," the man warned, "it's survival," and so it began. Steel wires sliced his skin, stones broke his knuckles. Blood soaked the floor, but he never stopped. He didn't want revenge. He wanted redemption. And this time he'd earn it through fire. He didn't train to survive. He trained to dominate. Each morning started before the sun, weighted steps, cracked bones, sweat soaking through torn sleeves. The old soldier taught him how to control energy, slow his breathing, shift balance, feel danger before it came, then came the traps. Wires, blades, close quarter strikes. Miss once, bleed, miss twice, fall. But he didn't miss after a while. His reflexes sharpened like broken glass. He could snatch a falling needle midair. He could hear footsteps to floors above. "You're no longer just fighting enemies," his mentor growled. "You're outsmarting the system." So he studied maps, signals, tactics, learn it to vanish, manipulate, outthink. He buried his old self, built a new one from the ashes. And on the streets, rumors began, a ghost, a shadow. A man with no name who tore through gangs like wind through fire. They thought he was hiding. No, he was preparing. Asterisk power corrupts fast, especially when it's stolen. The same officers who branded him a traitor now ran the system. From behind sealed doors, they controlled black ops teams, erased names from files, and silenced anyone who got too close. One of them even led a secret task force trained killers. Ghosts in uniforms, so he fed them bait, a flash drive planted in a dead drop, a whispered rumor in the right alley, just enough intel to spark suspicion, all pointing to one unknown operative lurking in the city. They took the bait. Within hours, orders were issued. The elite team was mobilized. Locate and eliminate. He saw their boots before they saw his face. 6 agents, black gear, red visors, locked in. He stepped from the shadows, calm, controlled. He wasn't running, he was hunting, and they just walked into his trap. He let them drag him into a van, fists tied, eyes blindfolded, but while they gloated, he moved. A flick of the wrist and the tracking bugs were already inside their gear. By the time they reached the black site, he'd recorded their radio codes, camera placements, and security rotations, all without a single word. Inside, he acted broken, silent, beaten, but his mind was sprinting. 42 hours later, the alarms howled, the walls lit up red, guards yelled over scrambled comms. Server rooms fried, doors locked behind them. And while they ran in circles, he vanished. Outside, live footage hit the net. One officer's face clear as day issuing illegal orders, falsifying reports. The world saw it. The world finally saw the truth, but for him, this wasn't the win, not yet. This was only the opening move. They thought they were ghosts and touchable shadows in the dark, but he dragged them into the light. Using the data he stole, he leaked classified reports to the press. Reports showing innocent civilians caught in Black Ops crossfire. One mission, one lie, hundreds of lives erased and covered up. The world exploded, news anchors screamed. Protesters filled the streets. Investigations that were buried years ago clawed their way back into the headlines. Inside the system, panic. The elite task force, once invisible, was now under the microscope. Phones tapped, orders reviewed, budgets frozen. The higher-ups? They started turning on each other. He leaked it. I told you we should have wiped him, but none of them could prove who he was. No fingerprints, no face, just whispers. They didn't know his name, but they knew something else. He wasn't done. He was just getting started. They called themselves ghosts, but this time, the shadows fought back. He moved through abandoned alleys, empty safe houses, dead zones in the grid searching. And he wasn't alone for long. One by one, they stepped out of silence. A sniper framed for a crime he didn't commit. A tech analyst erased from the system. An ex-soldier left behind on foreign soil. All betrayed, all broken, all angry at. First, they didn't speak. Didn't shake hands, just watched him, studied him, but his eyes, they held something real, something none of them had seen in years. Purpose. No speeches, no flags, just a mission. Destroy the ones who pull the strings. Together, they became a force with no face, no noise, no weakness, and when they struck, no one ever saw it coming. They weren't here for attention. They were here for justice. The call came in at midnight. No ID, just one word, gone. He rushed to the safe house, but it was too late. His mentor, the man who'd saved him from the streets, was cold. No wounds, no struggle. Just a faint scent in the air, poison. Silent, clean, professional. It wasn't a kill. It was a message. They're not just cleaning up loose ends, he muttered, standing over the lifeless body. They're sending warnings, and it worked. For a second, just a second, he froze. The rage burned, but so did the grief. His fist shook. The one person who believed in him, taken without a fight. But pain was familiar, and now it had a name. He didn't cry, he didn't scream. He whispered, "You wanted my attention, you got it." Then he vanished into the dark. They'd started this. Now he was going to end it. He swept floors by day, but by night, he swept through secrets. Inside one of the enemy's most secure bases, he wore a plain uniform, head down, eyes sharp. A janitor, invisible, but every mob swipe was timed, every trash run, a data drop. By the third night, he'd cracked half their system, cameras looped, logs altered, schedules memorized. Then she appeared, eyes full of questions. A young analyst, too smart for her own good. She'd been watching him, but not to report him. My brother was on that mission, she whispered behind a locked file. Room. He never came back. They told me to forget it. He didn't answer. Just held out a drive. She took it. From that moment, they weren't alone. A silent bond formed in shadows, one driven by truth, the other by vengeance. Together, they were about to rewrite everything. They hit him where it hurt when he least expected it. He ducked into the alley for a quiet exit, but the silence shattered. Boots slammed against the pavement. Shadows moved fast, muzzles flared, a bullet grazed. His arm, blood spattered the wall. He twisted, rolled, grabbed a pipe, fought like a cornered animal. Too many, too close. He dove through a trash chute just before backup sealed the exit. Inside his safe house, sweat dripped. His shirt stuck to the wound. But that wasn't the worst part. Someone had sold him out. Someone close, his eyes flicked. To the tracker logs, two devices had pinged, one from him, the other from inside his own crew. He clenched his jaw. It wasn't just betrayal. It was war from within, and if he didn't find the traitor soon, he wouldn't live long enough to finish what he started. They thought he'd be the one pulling triggers, but this time, he didn't even show up. 3 drug facilities, 3 teams, 1 signal, and boom, chaos. Explosions ripped through their hidden labs. Flames danced across rooftops. Storage tanks blew sky high. The sound echoed like justice. The best part? Every move was caught on camera by drones he planted days ago. News channels played it on loop. Smoke, screams, corruption exposed in 4K. Panic spread. Corrupt officers scrambled to block the footage. Too late, the people had already seen it. "He's not just fighting us," one officer muttered. "He's turning the world against us." Meanwhile, the man behind it all sat in the shadows, watching it unfold with a calm smile. He didn't lift a finger. His team, once broken, now battle-ready, had done it. And now, the system itself was starting to shake. A dim warehouse, flickering lights, no backup, just him, and the commander who ruined his life. The man smirked. "You should have stayed in the dark." But he didn't flinch. They lunged, metal clashed. Fists cracked bone, blood splattered concrete. The fight wasn't elegant, it was survival. Every punch screamed years of betrayal. Then slash, a blade tore through his side. But he didn't go down. Instead, he pressed a button on his watch. A red light blinked. "Live worldwide." The commander froze. "You're being watched," he growled. Panicked, the man stammered, then broke. He confessed everything: names, dates, crimes. All of it. The internet exploded, but as the feed ended, he staggered. Blood soaked his shirt, vision blurred. He got the truth, but the price, it nearly cost him his life. They thought he was out of the game, bedridden, bleeding, broken, but while his body healed, the streets burned. Without him, his team struggled to hold ground. Tensions flared, orders clashed. Rival gangs crept in like wolves smelling blood. The empire he built was cracking. Then came the news: she was gone. The analyst, taken. He sat up, stitches tearing. Pain screamed through his ribs, but he didn't care. "They want me," he muttered, slipping on his coat. "Fine, let's give them a show." But he wasn't charging in blind. No rage, no panic, just precision. They wanted to lure him out. They got what they asked for, but this time, he wasn't coming as a shadow, he was coming as judgment. And someone was going to pay. They took her. Big mistake. He stormed the facility with nothing but grit and fire in his eyes. Alone, no backup, no hesitation. Snipers locked on. He ducked, rolled, and fired a smoke flare straight into the tower. Boom. One problem down. Hallways rigged with traps. He dismantled each with bare hands and lightning focus. One guard tried to raise an alarm. One punch and silence followed. Room by room, he cleared the path, blood dripping from his knuckles. Then there she was, chained, barely breathing, but alive. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded weakly. He lifted her anyway. They escaped through an old maintenance tunnel, water rushing at their feet. Behind them, the building exploded, lighting up the night like judgment had come. When they emerged into the city, breathless and bruised, she looked at him, not with fear this time, but with something else: respect. And the world? It was finally watching. They thought he'd stay silent. But when the files dropped, everything changed. His team released it all. War crimes buried in classified folders, hidden prisons deep underground, names of officers who smiled on camera while staining their hands in the dark. Real names, real faces, real dates. The world saw it. Within hours, protests exploded in every major city. Streets overflowed with people screaming for justice, holding up posters of the victims and banners that read, "No more lies." Inside the system, honest officers began switching sides. One by one, they came forward, saying, "He was right all along." The cracks became a collapse. The government, cornered by the weight of truth and public fury, could no longer protect the guilty. And his enemies, they weren't laughing anymore. They were running, because when truth hits like thunder, even the most powerful fall to their knees. They kicked him out like trash. Now, he walked back through those glass doors like a storm. In human form, heads turned, whispers followed. But this time, he wasn't alone. His team, battle-scarred, loyal, and sharper than ever, stood right behind him. The agency director met him with a weak smile. "We want you to lead the new task force. Start fresh, rebuild it from the ground up." He didn't flinch, didn't blink, but he didn't say yes either, because there was still one thing left unfinished. One shadow he hadn't faced, one name still circled in red. He turned around, voice low. "Not yet, because before he rebuilds anything, he's going to burn down the last piece of the past that tried to kill him." The wind whispered through the trees, cold and quiet. He stood at the edge of the forest, boots crunching on dry leaves, as the cabin came into view, half-rotten, covered in moss. That's where it all began and where it ended. He knelt beside the crypt grave. No fanfare, no cameras, just him, and the man who taught him everything. From his pocket, he pulled out the agency's Medal of Honor, the one they never gave. He pressed it into the soil. "They finally know," he whispered, voice tight. We did it. The wind moved again, soft, almost like a reply. He closed his eyes, breathed deep, and let the weight on his chest fall away. No more running, no more hiding. The war was over. And for the first time in years, he was ready. He didn't just accept the offer, he owned it. The moment he stepped into that office, the old air of betrayal was gone. The walls no longer whispered lies. This time, he was in control. He rebuilt the task force from the ground up. No greedy hands, no dirty deals. Just fighters, real ones. People who knew pain. People who chose loyalty over power. Background checks, ruthless. Training, brutal, but fair. Every recruit knew this wasn't about titles, it was about trust. He stood at the front lines again, not as a shadow of his past, but as the man who survived it. The city buzzed, criminals whispered. Something had changed. The system that once threw him out? Now it saluted him, and if the darkness dared return, it wouldn't be facing a wounded outcast. It would be facing a storm wearing a badge. The wind howled across the rooftop as he stood still, eyes locked on the distant skyline. The city was calm but too calm. His fingers hovered near the comms switch, like instinct. Then it came. A coded ping lit up his private line. Static, then one line. Unknown anomaly spotted. Location, classified. He didn't flinch. Didn't blink, just smirked. Figures, he muttered, rolling his shoulders. Peace never lasts long. His code flared behind him. He moved silent, sharp, unstoppable. One step off the ledge and he was already gone. No parachute, no backup, no hesitation, because he didn't need them. This time, the danger wasn't chasing him. He was chasing it. The night swallowed his silhouette whole. Whatever was coming, he was already ahead of it. And he wasn't just ready for the next war, he was the storm waiting to be unleashed.